I'll be talking about remote sensing and drone applications in agriculture. There are some basics involved. Concept of remote sensing, GIS, GPS, and its applications, especially using satellite imagery as well as drone for various agricultural applications. Yes, we are in the modern era of utilizing modern technologies, recent technologies, ICT tools, and these technologies find a place in almost all the sectors, and agriculture is not an exemption. Yes, we need to accept and adopt these technologies. And one such technology is remote sensing and GIS applications. And we are in this field for a long time. Besides India, developed countries started using these technologies from 1960 onwards to address the issues related to agriculture, because there are a lot of advantages available with this technology. Though it may look modern and looks complicated to understand and work with this data, there are a lot of advantages available with these technologies, and we are going to talk about this. Yes, these are all the areas where we can apply this technology broadly. Applications of remote sensing, crop studies, soil studies, land, disaster, and water. Specifically, in crop studies, we can use this technology for crop area mapping and yield estimation, and these data are much useful for insurances. In soil, we use this technology for soil resource mapping, land resource mapping, then soil moisture estimation, so as to give input for sustainable agriculture. And we can also assess the degradation, land degradation, and the change detection. What was the condition during 1990? What was the condition during 2000 and present day? That kind of changes can be studied. And in disaster, yes, nowadays we get the cyclone very frequently, as a result of flood, and some years we get drought, and that can be assessed very precisely, quickly using this technology. And in water resource studies, we can monitor the water bodies, water resources, and it helps in the irrigation management. So these are all the broad areas of applications of remote sensing, not only in India, but also elsewhere. And before going into the application part of the remote sensing and GIS, let me talk about some basics of remote sensing so that you can have a better understanding. This is not a very new technology, cannot be understood by the people. Yes, it is available everywhere. We see object, we recognize object through our eyes. So our eye is doing remote sensing activity. That is what the remote sensing, for which you need energy or light. We call it as sunlight. So this is the broad spectrum of energy available from sun or any other source, right from gamma ray to radio waves, wherein we have a very narrow band, namely visible, which is indicated here, which range from 0.4 micrometer to 0.7 micrometer. Broadly, there are three colors: blue, green, red, and there are 7 colors as you visualize in with GR. That is violet, indigo, blue. So that are so the 7 colors can be graded, and this is the region where our eyes are sensitive. So though the energy is available in broad spectrum, our eyes are sensitive only to this narrow region. That is what the nature designed. And beyond this region, energy is also available in the infrared, that is reflected infrared, we call it as, then thermal infrared, microwave, and radio waves. So these are all the waves which are useful for remote sensing, and the modern remote sensing sensors are designed to use this technology in order to study the earth repeatedly. And this is how the energy interact with any object. Might have studied in our schools physics subject. Let us consider sun gives the energy. Let us consider light energy. This energy propagate from sun, pass through the vacuum, then through the atmosphere, then reaches the earth surface. So on the earth surface we have n number of objects, and once the energy is interact or touch the object, they undergo three physical changes. Maybe a part of the energy may be absorbed by the object itself, or the energy may be transmitted through the object, or energy may be reflected from the object. So among the three different changes, the remote sensing capture only the reflected energy. That is what our human eyes doing. So reflected energy only useful for remote sensing, because you cannot, sense the energy absorbed or transmitted from the object. And this is the basic behind the sensing. As a result, so you have a lot of objects, and the sunlight interact with the different object. Let it be building, road, soil, grass, water, or forest, agricultural land, anything. So some part of the energy may be reflected back to the atmosphere or the space, and when you are able to capture the reflected energy using some sensors, and that is what the remote sensing process. Wherein there are two types of remote sensing, and this is quite interesting. So what we discussed now is passive remote sensing. That means we utilize the energy available from sun. That is passive. We do not, invest any energy to illuminate the target. So sun gives the energy that illuminate the earth surface, and the reflected energy is captured by the satellite. This is called passive remote sensing. On the other side, we have active remote sensing, wherein your sensor itself generate the energy. That means sensor have the capability of generating energy to illuminate the target. In our case, it is earth surface, and the reflected energy is captured by the sensor. This is similar to radar technology. And this technology is now largely being used because they have a lot of advantages. The number one advantage is in passive remote sensing, since it is reflected energy, when there is a cloud cover, that means the season like now, rainy season, the entire state or country is covered by clouds. So the energy reflected from the earth surface cannot penetrate the cloud and reach the sensor. As a result, you may not be able to capture the clear picture of the earth surface. So wherein the active remote sensing, since the sensor generate its own energy, that too in longer wavelength, namely radio waves. So those waves being longer waves, they can just easily penetrate the clouds and reach the sensor, so that you can study the earth surface. And another advantage is that you can view the earth surface even during night, whereas this is possible, passive remote sensing is possible only during daytime. So that is the biggest advantage. So this is less interrupted by the clouds or atmosphere, so that you can monitor the earth surface anytime during the day or any day during the year. These are some satellite orbits. So where these satellites are orbiting in this space. Generally, the remote sensing satellites, which are nowadays available for various applications, take this orbit, namely sun synchronous orbit, which range from 400 to 1000 kilometer altitude. So usually their altitude may be around 700 or 800 kilometer. So they orbit like this, in vertically, south pole to north pole to south pole, like this. So where there is a sunlight available, the satellites view the earth. Similarly, the active remote sensing satellite also take this orbit. So these are remote sensing satellites. And the resultant image will be like this. So this is an image from remote sensing satellite IRS-P6. List 3 is a kind of sensor which has 23 meter into 23.5 meter resolution. That means, so the satellite can view a object which is almost the same size or bigger than this. So that is called spatial resolution. This is pulse color composite. That's why you see a lot of different colors, namely red color, blue, white, black, or blue, something like that. So these are water bodies. The dark color or blue colored patches. The red color patches are vegetation. So you cannot right away identify the crop or trees or forest area looking at the red color. They are largely vegetation, and in order to identify or confirm whether it is crop or forest, you need further analysis. So this is how the satellite image will look like. On the other side, we have another set of satellites, namely geostationary satellites. And interestingly, these satellites are utilized for communication and weather monitoring purpose. And the INSAT and GSAT series of satellites are placed in this orbit. And they are at an altitude of 36,000 kilometers from Earth, exactly 35,786 kilometers. The biggest advantage is that they take exactly 1 day to complete one cycle. So there is a error here. This is 23 hours sidereal day. We call it as 23 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds for the Earth to complete one cycle. And similarly, any object placed in this orbit take the same time to complete one orbit. That means the satellite can be in stationary with any part of the Earth. That is very much essential for communication and weather monitoring. That is what the satellites are doing. This is 23 hours, 56 minutes. We call it as sidereal day. That is 1 day. So these are the products of weather satellites INSAT 1D in order to monitor the weather pattern, cloud pattern, etc. in a large area. And this is about remote sensing technology we talk about. And another technology available to utilize the data or products or the any information from remote sensing as well as conventional method is GIS. We call it as Geographic Information System. It is a computer software, that's all, which can handle different layers or a different type of data so that you can have a better analysis of your data. And another technology or a tool which is available being largely used by many sectors is GPS. Actually, it should be called as a Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS. And commonly it is called GPS, Global Positioning System. So this system is a worldwide radio navigation system. So the energy or the signal is available all the time during a day. As a result, you can get your position in terms of latitude, longitude, altitude, and precise time. And the image shows this is how the satellites are orbiting in the space. There are 32 satellites exclusively available for this purpose. They are orbiting at an altitude of 20,200 kilometers from Earth's surface in order to cover the 99% of the Earth's surface, leaving the North Pole and South Pole where the population is nil or no. Less population. So this is a technology which is available for knowing the position. We call it as geo-coordinate, latitude, longitude. So GPS are inevitable in modern technologies. So using this technology, the previous system which we have discussed, GPS is for global navigation. This is for global coverage. The American system, JPL represents Jet Propulsion Laboratory of NASA, and India recently developed its own system, namely IRNSS, that means Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, which consists of 7 satellites to cover the Indian region and 1,500 kilometers away from Indian border. This is exclusively developed for India. So that data is also available with any handset. And these are all the technologies presently being made for various applications. And knowing the basic information about the RSGAS and the GPS, let us look into the advantages of remote sensing. Why we need to look into or depend on this system, satellite remote sensing. Number one advantage is synaptic coverage. Yes, it can cover large area in a single swath. And reliable and near real-time information. Yes, you can rely on this system or image. Near real-time means once the image is taken at around 10 a.m., you can get the data in 11 or 12 a.m. So very closely you can get the data. And fast and economical also. Yes, the initial cost may be very higher, 1,000 crore, 1,500 crore. But when you look at the lifetime usage and its revenue, it is very economical. And it is multispectral. That means you can get the color image. Repetitive coverage, that is a biggest advantage. You can cover the area once in 12 days, once in 10 days, once in a week. Nowadays, daily coverage is available. That means you are being monitored daily. And amenability for various analysis, visual and digital analysis, and you can merge with any other sensor data. These are all the advantages. And the one disadvantage is that scale and resolution. That means the resolution very important as far as satellite imagery is concerned. It vary anything from 0.5 meter to 56 or 80 meter or sometimes 1000 meter also. So there are various resolution available. Depends upon the application. We need to select the right resolution data. And when you look into the applications, I have already discussed about this. So agriculture crop area and yield estimation, and crop condition drought assessment, and precision farming, soil resource study, soil mapping, generation of land capable declassification. Yes, soil moisture can be estimated using a kind of data, micro data. In the land degradation mapping, we can assess the salt affected soils area, then eroded land, etc. And the land use land cover map, what is there on the land, how much area is under agriculture, how much area is under forest, other areas, that can be very well mapped. And water resource studies, surface water mapping is possible, we are doing it now. And flood damage assessment and cyclone damage assessment, and there are applications in forestry also. So these are all the various fields of application. And now let me discuss about the specific areas where we are concentrating in TNAU using this technology. We largely use this technology for crop area mapping. Number one, crop statistics. That means area on crop, especially rice, maize, cotton, and seasonality, in which season the crop is being grown, and phenology, stages of the crop, whether it is in booting stage or flowering stage or harvest stage, that can be very well assessed ultimately the yield. And these data are real time. Yes, we can get the data quickly, and it may be useful for or readily available for the usage by farmer, extension officials, then crop insurance companies, as well as for policymakers, that is the government. So crop area statistics we are presently doing, and we are also monitoring crop condition like moisture stress, nutrient deficiencies, and pest and disease occurrence using a satellite if it is a large area, and using unmanned aerial vehicle, namely drones, for smaller areas. And coming to the disaster, we assess the flood and drought regularly, so as to get the drought and flood affected area map. So this will help us to plan for mitigation strategy, as well as useful for crop insurance companies, as well as government to solve the issues. And this is one such images we have generated for the covered delta zone. Yes, we are doing a crop area map mainly for rice. We are also estimating the area under other crops, namely cotton and maize, the Arilur Perambalur area, and some area under coconut. So these are all the output from our studies, mainly from active remote sensing technology. we use SAR data, in the sense synthetic aperture radar. It is a radar technology. That is what it indicates. How do we differentiate crops? So we see a crop area map, and using the satellite images, how do we differentiate different crops? And like our signature or thumb impression, each crop has its own stature. That means the leaf shape, the number of leaves, plant height, its distribution, everything varies. So this is the basis behind the identification of various crops. So this is backscatter in the sense the reflected energy what we sense from at the sensor point. And these are the dates: 2017, month 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, something like this. So you have to monitor the crop growth continuously. So regular monitoring is essential. That means multi-temporal data we need to collect. So data of different dates is much essential to map the crop. So one day image may not be suitable. So when you observe the different dates images, you can get the difference in the crop growth as well as the backscattering coefficient. So that is what the graph shows. The blue one is broad-leafed forest. That means, see, being the broad-leafed tree, they reflect more energy, followed by the coniferous forest as well as the agriculture area, which gives very less reflectance because of its nature. This is the basis behind the differentiation of crops. Coming to a specific crop, so how do you assess the various stages of the crop? That is also possible. So let us consider rice. So these are different dates of observation or rice growth, let us say. And this is backscattering signature. That means the amount of energy reflected from this portion of the rice or any other object. So this is field preparation time. So during flooding and field preparation before transplantation, you do not have any crop. As a result, the reflection will be very, very low. So this is start of the season. So once you planted the seedlings, the start of the season initiates. So it goes like this. As the crop growth increases, the backscattering signature also increases. It reaches a maximum. The relationship is not linear and has to come down. Once the maturity comes, the chlorophyll content decreases, the crop color changes. Because of that, the curve comes down. So this is how we monitor the stages of the crop. That we call it as a phenology. So using this concept, we map the area and yield estimation of rice mainly, and we also map the area under maize, cotton, black gram, green gram, sugarcane, banana, cashew, and coconut. And these are all the signatures we observed for the specific crop from different areas, for which you need multi-temporal images. And this is rice area map for Kaveri Delta zone summer season. The area rice presently in the optimal growth, and late rice, early rice, everything can be mapped, as well as the start of the season, when the transplanting was started, that can be very well identified. So thus, that will give you a lot of information about the various stages as well as a maturity period. And this kind of data is much useful for policymakers as well as other officials. So that means we are continuously monitoring the crop growth. And this is rice yield in Kaveri Delta. One example we have, we have tried. These are all the yield at various levels, and total production we can estimate. This is for Ramanathapuram district. So using the remote sensing information and with some modeling technique, and we estimate the yield. And we also estimated the maize area in Perambalur and Ariyalur district also. Besides, now we are making attempt to map the area under cashew, mango, banana and citrus. That is horticulture crops also we are making attempt. The Ariyalur district cashew nut map we have completed. Banana in Erode and Tirunelveli district, then citrus and mango. And we obtained the reliable data with remote sensing estimate as well as the reported and other data from other sources. So we get reliable area using this technology. Coming to the next aspect, namely soil related studies, we use these remote sensing techniques for soil mapping. We know conventionally soil mapping is being carried out by visual interpretation, field visit, field observation, lab analysis and interpretation, etc. Of course, these technology or these methods are very accurate and reliable. But problem is it consumes much time. You need expert to work with this, and this is one such technology which we are previously we were doing. That means using visual interpretation. Let us consider the Tindigal district, and what we do using this technique is we collect the toposit for that particular area, and we extract some features which are not necessary or which are not covered under soil, mainly water bodies. So water bodies we need to delineate first, followed by other valleys, that means the channels. Then stony waste we have to delineate, then settlements, the villages, other small places. And then we overlay the satellite images, then do the analysis and geology, physiography information. We identify the sampling point, then go for lab analysis. Finally, we generate the soil map. Of course, this is a technique which is largely accepted and well reliable. Using this technique, we generate a lot of map. This is, for example, Annur block, Coimbatore district, generated at 1:50,000 scale. So in order to get still detailed information on soil, we also tried 1:10,000 scale, and this is a collaborative project with the Department of Agriculture, TNAU and Agriculture Engineering Department. We have completed this for 17 blocks, and this is a map, soil map for Annur village with the face level information, that is texture, slope and erosion information for each and every survey number. So that is the advantage. So survey number wise mapping is possible with this technique. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, these information or output are accurate and informative, but they consume a lot of time and labor and require trained person. Yes, that is much problem now. So in order to address these issues of time, labor requirement, now we are attempting a digital soil mapping technique. Yes, using satellite remote sensing as well as GIS. This is just by using minimum field data and using other observations. And we know in the undergraduate, we might have studied about the factors of soil formation proposed by NE 1941. That means soil is a function of climate, organism, relief, parent material and topography. So soil property is a function of these factors. Once the climate varies, the soil type varies, then organism, their biological systems, then relief, very important, parent material, depends upon the parent material, that soil type varies, then time. So time is a passive factor, parent material also a passive factor. So considering this as a basis, we generate or we model these factors through data collected from satellite remote sensing as well as other sources. So using the generated data, they call it as variables, and applying this through different algorithms or machine learning tool, we try to map the soil property in a given area or study area. So this is a digital soil mapping technique. And as a result, we have succeeded in doing this for many districts. This is one example for Coimbatore district soil erosion map. This is by conventional method, that means universal soil loss equation method. And this is by digital soil mapping technique. And the advantage is that we can get very high resolution map. And this is soil group, that means subclass level map we have generated for Coimbatore district. And we get the accuracy up to 85.7%. And this is much reliable, but thing is the data requirement is very high and the analysis is very complicated. And land degradation mapping we have done for Tamil Nadu in two seasons, 2005-6 and 2015-16, and we have assessed the total degraded area as 2.56 million hectare out of 13 million hectare total geographical area. And the percentage degradation was 19.6, wherein water erosion was the major one. And other features we have also mapped. This is one example where the images, satellite image, this is a patch which indicates salinity on satellite image, and this is a real ground photograph. So we identify looking at the tonal changes or color changes in the image. And in order to disseminate these informations, soil informations, we have developed a mobile application, namely Soil Doc or Soil Doctor. And this is available in Google Play Store. Anybody can use this. So once you install this app and locate your place or use this, you can get the soil information for the place where you are standing, preferably for a field, agricultural land. And we have also mapped the rainfed area in Tamil Nadu recently. So we calculate about 25.67 lakh hectare under rainfed. Besides, the length of growing period can also be mapped using this information. That means satellite information as well as GIS techniques. And the tank water spread area was mapped, especially the PWD tank, where how much water is spread over the tank. This we are doing under a TNAU project. And coming to the drone technology, that is a recent technology. This drone technology as well as satellite technologies find an important place in disaster management. To cite an example, we have mapped the flood during 2015, especially for Kadalur district. As a result, we could do some recommendation for distribution of seeds. And we have mapped the drought during 2016 using this remote sensing technology. This helped the government to get the relief to thousands of crores. Then recently, Gaja cyclone 2018 caused heavy damage in covered delta, and we have assessed the damage of coconut plantations using drone technology, and we have estimated around 38.74 lakh trees have been damaged due to cyclone, and this data was shared to government for decision making. So these are all the applications which we have succeeded in using these technologies. And we have drones, we have acquired a lot of drones for various applications. There are three types of drones available with us. One is quadcopter, that means four-winged drone. The weight is around 5 kg. It can fly up to a height of 500 meter, half kilometer. Can go up to 5 kilometer range, and 30 to 40 minutes it can fly. So this we are using for crop health monitoring for small areas. And another we have a fixed wing, something like aeroplane type, which weigh about 4 kg. It can fly up to 1 kilometer height, can go up to 15 kilometer range, can fly for 60 or 1 hour. When the area is large, we can use this drone for mapping and disaster assessment, where we can fly these drones for inaccessible areas. Now we have spraying drones, which is fuel operated, weight of 45 kg. It can fly up to a height of 20 meters for 3 hours. And we use these drones for spraying nutrients, then organics and plant protection chemicals, pesticide, herbicide and fungicides. These are all the facilities available with this department. We are doing a lot of research in this. And these are some images and videos showing the usage of drones in field that is for pesticide, fungicide application, and these are launches of drone. This we are doing now. And using this output from crop area and yield estimation, the data is largely used for crop insurance, namely Prime Minister Fasal Bimal Yojana. So we we have succeeded in reaching this farmer through this technology. We have developed crop insurance solutions wherein we generate start of the season map, yearly rice area map, then mid-season yield as well as forecast and the expected yield. So using this, the insurance companies can settle the or assess the condition of the crop and settle the amount precisely. And out of this, lakhs of farmers have been benefited and 2,340 crore have been settled. And also we are assessing the in-season crop condition for anticipated claim. So areas which changes chances of crop failure. If there is a prediction of drought or something other disaster, we can assess or predict the chances of the crop condition in advance, so that this data is helpful for the crop insurance field. And also we have developed a technology for smart sampling of crop cutting experiment. You know, the crop cutting experiment is much difficult or laborious, because at national level there are 7 million CCC are being carried out. In Tamil Nadu alone 2,20,000 CCE. So this consumes a lot of manpower and time. So in order to reduce the number of crop cutting experiments, we have some technologies, namely smart CCE, based on satellite derived indices, namely NDVI. We call it as normalized difference vegetation index, and LAA and SOS, wherein we can reduce the CCE by 50%. So conventionally you need to take 2052 for district of Tiruvarur. So through this technology, you can just save 50% of your CCE, so that the same accuracy can be achieved. This is another technology available with us. This has been given to government. And we support, government also supporting us to use this technology for crop insurance. And there are subjects been added in school textbook also. So these are all the various applications and our capabilities which I wanted to discuss with you. So the application of remote sensing in GIS is limited only by the imagination of those who use it, not by the technology or the tool available with you. So we can use this, technology for any fields in agriculture. Thank you very much.